It's a pleasure to meet Mr. Manu. I would like him to introduce himself.
Sure. Thank you, Gulam. Thank you, Computech, for inviting me to your podcast. It's a pleasure to always work with Computech and Enrolling and team. So appreciate, on behalf of the ThreatIQ leadership team, appreciate the invite. My name is Mano Panchratnam. I'm the CEO and founder of ThreatIQ Inc. We are a growing cybersecurity company in Canada and the United States, and we are also going global. We are primarily governance risk compliance based company with operational technology and IIoT cybersecurity practices, which is pretty unique in Canada and the United States. Even the big fives are reaching out to us for strategic partnership. From my side, I come from about 25 years of cybersecurity experience. I started off with IBM, moved on to Government of Ontario and served the people of Ontario in the cybersecurity branch for almost 15 years in cybersecurity architecture or security architecture, security design, worked on some of the major initiatives. And then I moved on to setting up my own company. Initially started off as Cyber Sentry, which morphed into ThreatIQ, ThreatIQ Incorporated. So a little bit about myself. Hopefully gives you a bit of a knowledge or a background about ThreatIQ as well.
That's very impressive and very interesting to find out or to speak with someone with such extensive experience and such an extensive successful career. I wish you all the good luck that is possible.
Thank you.
And, yes, and going forward, I like to share some of your experience, and I would like us you to tell the audience how do you feel about cybersecurity trends in 2023? Where do you think they are going, and what should we expect in this 2023?
So the growing trend that we're seeing, and right off the bat, first couple of weeks of January, we are into our first quarter, and right off the bat, we've got operational technology and IIoT. So critical infrastructures are getting hit by nations, organized crime, cyber crime units. They're targeting critical infrastructure such as water, utility, gas and oil, even manufacturing, simply to cause harm to a country, cripple a country. It's an organized crime, and some of them are sponsored by nations, countries. So what we are, and also in the states side, they are also regulating some of these utilities to have risk assessments done on their operational technology and IIoT, industrial Internet of Things. So that actually puts us in a little bit of a demand base, simply because we have a bench strength that has specialized skill set on operational technology. Unlike IT, operational technology is not something that you can simply upgrade or patch. When you have consoles that are connected to, a manufacturing, assembly line, and all
like production environment, basically.
Exactly, or water treatment. You cannot shut down the water treatment and try to upgrade, and hopefully it works. And normally you won't have a development environment where you can test it out. So you're touching production. So you have to be very, very careful what the changes you're making to HMC's control workstations. So in that sense, we are specialized in looking at it from a theoretical perspective, from a design perspective, and we are also partnered up with Autorio and Clarity. These are two major product vendors that actually play in the OT IIoT market. Mm-hmm. And they have products that actually passively scans and discovers these data assets or these operational technology assets, and then it actually assesses the vulnerability associated with them. And then add in our IT expertise, IT security expertise, we will be able to see if the network is segmented. Is the network exposed to the internet? Can a hacker get into a workstation and from that workstation manipulate the fluoride level that's being injected into water? It happened in Florida.
Yes.
Where they actually did manipulate, and luckily the QA system picked it up. and they shut down the water right away. Otherwise, there will be death. That's how severe that can be. So this is an interesting trend that we're seeing. It's not even just interesting, but it's a demand. People will want to get into, especially students, want to get into that kind of field, especially if you have engineering background. You may want to consider taking on some of the cybersecurity courses that Computech offers, so that you get exposure to cybersecurity and then apply that cybersecurity skill set to your engineering background. We do have a number of resources that are engineers, nuclear engineers, as well as mechanical engineers who understand how the operational technology works. They can then mentor them, coach them, and and train them on. A lot of this is hands-on. There's nothing you can really learn. You can learn the basics, but a lot of it has to be getting yourself foot into a cybersecurity company. Um, if you want to stay in the IT side, and you're in network security background, get into cybersecurity, managed security services, vendors who provide managed security like firewall management, intrusion detection management, WAF. Cloud is becoming more and more, managed cloud services becoming more and more common. It's being outsourced to third-party companies who are specialized. So again, speaking to the students population is getting your foot into those companies once you graduate from Computech, in those certification. Try to get yourself into the start, the early, even security operations. Get yourself in, um, and then try to promote. It's a constant learning. One thing about cybersecurity is it never ends. It never ends. You have to be always on top of the growing threat vectors that are out there and the technology trend. The other one is cloud. Cloud is, after pandemic, everybody went to cloud. It's, on-prem exchange. Well, let's move that into O360. Can you do that in 1 week? Because, we want all our emails moved over and easy to access.
Yes.
Cloud security is another growing field. There's significant gap for resources to fill those jobs, not only just in Canada, but the United States. Again, speaking to the student population, is once you graduate, um, while you're working, try to get yourself more cross-trained, and expose yourself. I always advise that, when you get into a job, try to find a mentor, somebody who is so senior enough who can actually mentor you, guide you through how they solve problems, how they tackle cybersecurity challenges. So hopefully, I know from a trend perspective, blockchain is the other one, and I don't mean cryptocurrency
No.
blockchain. The growing trend, there's a challenge of organization exchanging data securely and validating data. So Computech issues a credential. You are a Computech graduate. I am an employer. How do I validate that when somebody presents that certificate that it's valid? So you will see a growth in private consortium based blockchain, where organizations will come together to exchange information in a secure manner using blockchain. Again, heavy dependence on cybersecurity. So these are the trends, and you're going to see, smart cars, charging stations that are actually communicating constantly with cars. Um, there's a company in Whitby that's a South Korean company. They are specialized in smart charging, charge stations, where they each kind of communicate with cars to say where's the next charging station and how long can I go before I go into a charge station. That can be booked ahead of time and payment made. So that's a trend, and everything has security connotation. Hopefully, that kind of gives you where the trend is going.
Yes. Actually, you said very, uh, I would say, like very, like very well. You put everything very well. Because in the production environment, uh, when I'm teaching at computer college and I'm preparing students for cybersecurity challenges, I am always teaching them to make sure that they are not misconfiguring something,
Yeah.
because misconfiguration is the biggest threat to production environment.
Yes.
Default information, default this and that, just to make it work, is going to bring everything down. So
Absolutely. and it's important to have hardening procedures
Yes.
and checking, validating upon configuration before you turn the switch on, testing.
Yes.
Security testing should be embedded into your from inception to
Yes.
implementation right throughout. Whether you're developing a new application in the cloud, you're doing your pipelines, DevSecOps pipelines. Security is constantly checking for vulnerabilities, code vulnerabilities, or even configuration vulnerabilities, default configuration left behind. So, having a security policy that kind of governs how you tackle, how you harden your systems, and how you validate is very important. It's one thing to do that, but if you're not mandated through a policy, things
Yes.
are going to fall
We
through the
have
cracks.
CompTIA Security Plus module, and in that module we teach how to perform basic penetration testing
Okay.
and how to attack, defend, give them the idea of red team, blue team, and all that kind of stuff. So, uh, as you are saying, it is very serious and very challenging, and the trend is going upwards in terms of attacks.
Well, the attacks are getting sophisticated. I mean, we were just reading a recent article. I don't know if you heard about LCBO being brought down, their website. Their transactional website was brought down.
Yes.
And when I saw the first article coming out, preliminary root cause was a code injection. This is not a new attack vector. This is British Airways. It's called merge card attack. It fell victim to merge card attack, where attackers injected code. Now it's not a server side; it's actually client side. So the code actually comes into a browser session whenever the attacker wants it to, and so you won't even notice when you do a pen test on the server side. It actually shows up on the browser side. So how do you detect an attack like that? How do you detect that your code is actually pulling a third-party JavaScript and loading it into the memory when that checkout, I'm going to check out this card, payment card, is the user is ready to pay. Their credit card information gets stolen, their PI data gets stolen. Attacks are getting very sophisticated. Recently, I read an article where the Russians are actually injecting code into this open AI platform,
Yes.
right? So all the more reason why you need to be, in front of the cyber threats that are facing. Constant research, threat hunting is a field that is absolutely growing. So any students who are going into cybersecurity, get your foot in and be on top of things. Very important.
Yes. Now, there is one question I have. Since you are giving us this such a useful information, and you are giving us your time, I want to ask you one question. Uh, Maybe it is too direct, but I want to ask because I'm a teacher,
Hmm.
so I have to think about my kids.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I was thinking if there is any project or anything where you have a need for team players, and if you could give us some kind of guideline as to what do they need, what kind of skills they should have. Maybe I can prepare them for such challenge, and they can, you can see. I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so we have I think we have two students, one from UBC and another who just graduated from Durham College, or graduating in March. We brought them on board. Initially, they were interns. They were just helping us with project coordination, simple things as project coordination. They were not fully exposed to cybersecurity field. The student from Durham College has already graduated from another institution, a university, and then he upgraded his skill to actually cybersecurity. We brought him on as an intern, and they were just doing mundane admin work, project coordination. The reason why project coordination role was given to them is because they get exposed to how the consulting team is running an assessment. What are the frameworks? CIS, NIST framework for risk assessment, maturity model assessment. So they get exposed to the workbooks. We have our own tools and methodologies. We customize some of our framework to meet the client's size. It's not one size fits all. So they pick up that skill set because they're sitting in workshops. They're listening to the line of questioning that is going from our security consultants to the clients. They're taking notes and they're learning. and they're also collaborating with a senior cybersecurity specialist, asking questions. So any opportunity you get, take your basic cybersecurity courses, because most of the universities and colleges, including Computech, prepares you to understand what a cybersecurity is. What is a person who enters the cybersecurity? What do they do on a day-to-day basis? Now, there's a huge area of expertise that you can specialize yourself in. But when you're thinking about education, think about I started. So I'll give you where I started off with. I started off with network. Network was my expertise, and network design, and I got into IBM as a network analyst. We used to configure routers, firewalls for IBM managed IBM global network services. And if there's an outage, we get on MIs and we do that. It's all hands on. And then like I naturally went into intrusion detection when IBM introduced Cisco's SourceFire, so Cisco's intrusion detection technology. I got trained by IBM. So once you get yourself into one of those employers, they are going to push you to get yourself further certified and further trained. That's how you move up the ladder. So when I got into managing, so when that's when Ministry of Government Services came on board with IBM for their business continuity and disaster recovery service. Naturally, I progressed from IBM to the government corporate security branch, where I got exposed to various different, not only just business continuity, disaster recovery, network security services, but also security design, security architecture, risk assessment and risk management, privacy. So broader exposure to cybersecurity, which is where I am today. I'm grateful to the exposure that the government and the cybersecurity branch gave me. And so, all along people were saying, you know what, you have what it takes to go set up your own cybersecurity company, because there's just going to be need for the dedicated cybersecurity companies that will cater to small to mid-sized companies. Large companies are being taken care of. The small to mid-sized companies, even they need cybersecurity nowadays. So for the students who are coming out of high school, universities, there are seminars there are career fairs. I know Computech participates in career fairs that I know Durham College that I'm part of. Sorry, Durham Tamil Association that I'm part of. That Murali is a great supporter of. Thanks to Computech. We organize annual career fair. We bring in various different employers, government, private sector. Students should come in and not come in with thinking that here's my resume, can you have a job for me, but come in with the questions. How I want to go this path. How do I position myself? And you get the answers from the real employers, not only the employers and the HR people, but also the managers, hiring managers who are actually managing. So it's important that whenever you get that chance or opportunity, attend those career fairs, attend those workshops where employer can come in and speak to you about about that field that they are in and what kind of skill set that they need early on, so that you can align your courses, your career, even your education towards it. But I always say, try to get yourself into an organization, whether it's for cybersecurity or any other organization that has a cybersecurity field. Try to get yourself into that organization. Then you can figure out whether it is something that you want to do, or not. It's not my cup of tea. I'm going to move on to something else. Like I want to do project management or program management or marketing, whatever. But first thing first, I'll try it out. You need to have a knack for cybersecurity. I really one of the things I always tell my teams, my service delivery team, is think out of the box. Building a fortress for a small business, that just doesn't make any sense. You're spending millions of dollars, but where's your crown jewels? Where's your data? Let's protect that data and put just enough security safeguard to protect that data without building a fortress. When you have big banks, yeah, obviously they need the big fortress. You have a small agency that may have data, but they need to know where that data is. It's a data-driven risk management practices, and then put sufficient. So these are things that you learn on the job, not something you can study. Hopefully I've answered. I know you started with your kids, but it's not just, it's just broader. Cybersecurity is a growing, it's a field that has huge gap, demand, huge demand. There's so many jobs that are not filled in Canada and the US, and the salary is phenomenal, phenomenal. And if you become 10 years in that field, you pretty much got to come out and do independent consulting and pretty much make $200,000 easy, easy. So that's why, it's, don't go in for the money. Don't go in for the money. Make sure you enjoy the field.
Yes. Thank you so much for the such a good answer. Uh, I think we should conclude this interview now, I guess. Or if you would like to share something more with us, please feel free to do so.
No, so one thing I would like to share, and I did mention previously, is that we normally reach out to a train, like education institution, to work with them on innovation in cybersecurity, um, getting students to think about projects that might fix a problem. So what we do is we typically challenge them, saying, "Here's a problem statement. What do you think could be the solution for it?" And then we invest with that education institution to take that into a POC, a pilot, a product or a service. Hey, that's a problem statement. That's a valid problem statement. How do we fix it? So in that sense, we are embarked with, like, Durham College is one. We are embarked with them on a POC. If proven success, we're going to take it to the next level. And so, and again, I will reach out to Murali and CompuTech as well. Getting students involved in those kind of interesting projects, even if they're part of learning, is what kind of make them think, is this the field that I want to go in? And if so, I want to work, I want to build on this space. And I'm going to go out and get more educated and trained while I'm looking for a job. If they land on a job, perfect. Continuous learning. So that's the advice I can give. So in that sense, I'm offering, maybe we should meet in person, and perhaps even with Murali, and talk about how the two organizations can work together. I mean, from a, Computech from a training perspective, even, people who are coming or moving their job, they're moving away from something that they originally had to maybe IT and even IT security, um, designing courses and interesting projects that might get more students exposure to cybersecurity, and who knows, we can scoop them up when they graduate.
Yeah, yeah, that's very true. We any idea needs to be built upon. It has to be built with hard work and with coordination. What I said to you was my thought, but to convert thought into a process is what we do, right?
Right, right, and challenging the students a little bit. Apart from the curriculum, develop some sort of a challenge statement, a use case. Here's a threat out there. How do we secure our information systems, our data?
Yes.
Put a, when I was in university, I have double degree. One is in management information systems, and the other one is finance.
Right.
So I started in finance actually, but then I moved to IT. But one of the professors that I had, he didn't teach. Every day he brought in every class, a lecture. It's not even a lecture. It's like case studies.
Yes.
Here's a case. Here's a business problem. Your team, within your team, analyze the business problem, come up with pros and cons, and come up with a solution. And there's no one correct solution.
Yes.
Same can be applied to cybersecurity training,
Yes.
right?
Actually, I run my class in the similar idea. I help them set up environment every day, every 2 week. We
Yeah.
set up a system. Like right now, we are starting to set up RDP system.
Mm.
Now, once the RDP is set up, then we have to secure it, right? So
Yes.
we will teach how to secure it.
Okay.
So Once that scenario is completed, then my students are automatically ready for the next challenge, and they are much more they are much more aware of uh, what they should do next in the next lab or in the next setup.
Red teaming. So another thing is that you can just a suggestion is when you get the one group of students to set it up, and the other group of students who are actually pen testing, test it out and see if they can penetrate.
Yes, yes,
Okay. So then and vice versa. Give another
yes. I'm
task.
thinking about that between day and evening class.
There
Yeah.
you go. So that kind of helps somebody else test
Yes.
the how hardened this is the VDI,
System
for
is.
example,
Yes.
right? And then fix it. How do you fix it?
Yes.
The red team has already figured out, oh, there are vulnerabilities. I can log in. You don't have multi-factor authentication. So how do you fix it? How do you integrate an MFA? So again, it's challenging each other up.
Yes.
Um, it's not, you can teach them, but they need to then take it to the next level.
Yes. Actually, it's just that once the system is configured properly, it does not have any misconfiguration, then 90% it is secure.
Yeah.
The rest 10% is the cryptography or the authentication or these kind of mechanisms that you will put in place to make it secure and more secure and keep. And once you know your system is configured properly, then improving security is people enjoy improving the security actually.
Yeah. So implementing a solution and then taking it up a notch, from a broader security architecture and
Yes,
deployment
yes,
perspective. Do we deploy VDI into a flat land segment?
yes,
Or do we deploy it in a segmented zones of trust? I'm
yes,
sure the students
yes,
know what that is. Zones of trust is what belongs to what zone,
yes,
and what are the controls that you need for each zone. Data
yes,
zone has more controls than a web tier,
yes,
right? And taking that architecture deployment pattern, use case or a pattern, and say, here is a solution. Now tell me how you would deploy. How would you deploy a typical solution like this? It could be a two tier or three tier. Challenge them with two tier and see, like, it's just web application. It's like SharePoint, web application and a database,
yes,
but it has sensitive information. How would you secure it from a proper segmentation? One of
yes,
the challenge we constantly run into, and we discover in our clients, is that especially on the operational technology and going back to the industry controls again, those systems cannot be segmented properly. The IT and the OT DMZ are typically shared in a single segment, which typically is a no-no from a Purdue model. So you need to segregate IT from OT, and then you have to build defense in depth. So how do you implement zones of trust in an operational technology, which are some of those technologies are just still serial cable connecting to those devices, right? So those control workstations needs to be secured.
yes,
Make them think. How do you zone it? How do you have a security device, an RSA server? Where would you put an RSA server in a network segment?
yeah. You will put it behind your firewall.
Right. So even within behind the firewall, there may be multiple segmentations where security services may be in a separate segment in and of itself. You don't want that to be sort of sharing with application servers or file and print servers, Active Directory services. So it's taking that network. No, they can build and design to the next level, which is the architecture of it, solutioning it, looking at an existing network footprint from a client, and then client says, I need a VDI service.
Yes,
So you need to say, well, I don't want to put the VDI in a flat LAN segment where the users are sitting in. I'm going to secure the VDI service. Do I put it on-prem? Do I put it in the cloud? Do I use Azure VDI and then connect back through an express route? These are the solutions. These are the thinking that the clients are looking for from the implementers,
yes,
right? So in that sense, learning what you learn from Computech and then go to Azure. There are certification courses that you can take in Azure, AWS, Google. Uh, that's where the biggest demand is, because everybody's like, why do you want to build a VDI on-prem? when I can actually set it up and deploy it in the Azure or AWS or Google Workspace, right? So how do we do it securely in the cloud? And then how do I connect back to systems that are on-prem? Third-party vendors, supply chain attacks is notorious. Somebody compromises a supplier's network, piggyback through the supplier's network to the customer who has no visibility, right? And this has happened numerous times. So how do you give access to those suppliers to your system in a secure manner? Secure remote access.
Yes.
These are the concepts that you can put it out there to the students and let them come back with options. There's no one right solution, but it's making them think, analyze the problem statement, and risk-based analysis.
I think when if the core of the network, if the core of the network is designed properly, with the proper infrastructure, then the applications automatically become secure. So
Yes, yeah, you need the piping
yeah,
properly done.
so Cisco is what I would say, has various solutions based on what you told me. As much as I know, with the little knowledge that I have, uh,
Yeah.
these are not a big issues if you ask me.
So there's a lot of issues, and there's a lot of emerging technologies that we need to consider. The traditional way of zoning, network-based zoning, is moving into micro-segmentation. I'm sure you heard of that technology.
Yes,
ACI fabric. You mentioned Cisco. ACI. ACI is not a new technology. It's been in existence for a
yes.
while.
Everything has been very old. It's just that the new flavors are coming up.
Exactly. With new feature sets.
New, yes,
Security, it has a robust security in it.
yes.
Do we know how to deploy properly? Probably not. I mean, when I say do we know, do
No,
the
but you see,
organization
Cisco would know, but they are expensive. So
very exactly
for a contractor, it's not possible to hire Cisco to win the
exactly.
contract against the Cisco and then ask them to do the job.
But then the implementer is going to look at the application folks to say, hey, there's something called group policy in ACI, where you can have a group of servers say sharing a same segment, an IP segment. They can, however, group one cannot talk to group two, although they are in the same IP segment because you have that ACI group policy set. So it's a fine grained access control, not at a firewall, a network, and Portland.
Yes, yes.
Take it on another.
See, the reason why I love Cisco technology is because uh, you dictate how your network. You literally dictate how your network should behave,
Correct.
regardless of the operating system, regardless of the application database. It will behave the way you have designed it. That's why I love Cisco technology.
Yep.
So when I am teaching Cisco, I'm teaching them complete scenarios. Like we actually completed CCNA course, and my students are able to implement any basic solution as per the certification level. Now we are going towards CCNP, and I will teach them how to work with the larger scale network and design and then service. You can create VPN using Cisco. You can create firewall zones, segmentation, uh, VLAN, inter VLAN, all of that you can do it with Cisco. But the question is who will do it.
Yeah.
So my answer is our graduates will do it.
Yeah, even if you can do it, you need to understand the requirements. What is going to survive? What's going to live in this? Like I mentioned previously, you can build a fortress with layers and layers and layers of defense, or you can build a simple rationalized network segment, micro segment or network segment with micro segments that can give you the level of security that you need. It should be based on data driven, and risk based. Where is the data? What is the sensitivity of the data? And what do I need to do to protect that data? Is it a PHI data? Is it um, credit card information? Is it payment card information? Then you say, if it is highly sensitive data that I need to protect, um, here's a network design, that is going to give you the level of security segmentation that you need. There's other layers of protection as well: end-to-end encryption, encryption at rest, authentication of access controls, processes and people. That's where a biggest chunk of the problems are. You may have a robust a fortress, but people who are managing and running it don't have segregation of duties. The guy who actually implementing the firewall rule is the guy actually requesting the firewall rule. That doesn't make
Actually, I would tell you, security professionals are the worst enemies of network administrators.
yes, yes. But see, the thing is, again, I mentioned security needs to be embedded from inception to implementation. If you design your application and your network topologies with security input from the get go, we won't be, when I say we are the security professionals, we won't be the bad guys at the end of that, your race and saying, whoa, stop, you can't do this. We don't want to do that. So if you design it with risk-based advice given to you from day one, from conceptual to logical to physical, there's not going to be any retrofitting at that point. So DevSecOps lifecycle, the pipelines does help you with that. That kind of practice. Agile development does give you that. But make sure you have somebody, a security professional, embedded into those designs. And this is not just for Computech and for training, but for anybody who's listening and who may be dealing with a big application implementation or a cloud deployment. Make sure that you know what you're going to take into the cloud, and you need to know what controls that you need to put in. How do you want to design your cloud? Because just like on-prem, you can design your cloud with tiers, private clouds, public clouds, where the demarcs are, and what kind of controls that you want. But make sure security is embedded, because once you design it and deploy it, it's really difficult to retrofit it. It's more costly to retrofit it than doing it from the get go the right way,
Very true.
right?
All right. So I'm really thankful that you gave us your time and such knowledge. I don't want to end this interview, trust me, and I want to meet you right after we finish it, because
Thank you. Yeah.
it is my passion as well to uh, talk about these things, and uh, most people around me are not aware of these things, and it's hard to keep all these ideas and knowledge inside of yourself. You cannot talk to, you know a lot of people will not even understand, but the way you put in this interview, everything is very understandable.
Mhm.
It's very open and very real.
Oh, it is, and that's why I keep saying, get into the field, get a mentor going with a cybersecurity specialist or a consultant who, and watch the way how they tackle those challenges. Often it's on the job training and learning is more, but education is very important. You have to understand the basics. So, organization like Computech is doing a fantastic job of preparing the students for it. So keep it up. And anywhere we can help in giving you some guidance in terms of your curriculum, happy to help. We invest heavily on education. So happy to help. Do reach out to us, to me or to my team. Um, Happy to help you guys. So,
Thank you
and
so much.
I also want to thank Computech, Gulam, for taking the time to talk to me, and Murali for giving us the opportunity to come and speak to you guys and for the podcast. Thank you very
Yes,
much.
yes, thank you so much.